Let's take a look at our next example. For example 3, we're back to doing a square root function. So I could go ahead and plot my f of x equal to the square root of x because I've done it once before on problem number 1. Now that we've plotted f, let's talk about transformations to get to g. So the first thing that I see here is I see that I have a negative sign. This time the negative sign is not under the radical, it is all the way out in front, so that means that it's a reflection over x. Remember to look at your reference sheet or the chart on the first page if you need a refresher. Next, I see a 2 again on the outside, so that has to be vertical. Vertical things make more sense in our head. A 2 makes things bigger, so it's going to be a vertical stretch. You're stretching towards the vertical axis. And that is by 2. Finally, a +1 under the radical and being added to my x. So remember that things are opposite when they're under a radical, and it has to be horizontal. So this is going to be a horizontal translation, and that will be to the left by 1 because I have a positive sign there. Let's go ahead and talk about graphing our g of x. Let's pick some points. I'm going to write them up here where I've got some room. So when I plug in an x value of 0, that means that I will get 0 plus 1. The square root of 1 is 1, but then I'm multiplying by a -2. So overall, -2. I know that I shifted to the left by 1, so let's go ahead and pick an x value of -1 as our next point. And at -1, I'm going to get -1 plus 1. That will make this radical 0. Anything times 0 is 0. Let's go ahead and pick one more point, and the point that I'm going to pick is 3. That's going to be my next thing that gives me an even square root, because if I put a 3 here, then I'll get 3 plus 1, which will give me 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. Now take that 2 and multiply by -2, and I will have -4. So my g of x is going to look something like this. So this is a good start to my graph. 3 or 4 points should be fine for these, and this is my g. Now, because we shifted up, down, left, or right, our domain or range or both is going to change. My domain now starts at -1 and then continues towards positive infinity. So I'm going to have x greater than or equal to -1. Now, the other thing that I did is I reflected over the x-axis, which notice affects my y values. So instead of heading towards a y value of infinity, I am now going towards -infinity. So in relation to my biggest value of y, which is going to be at 0, y is either 0 or less than 0. So y less than or equal to 0 for my range.